promise you that shit.
Listen to the words. Garbage, a joke, clown acts, pisses me off. No, come find me. No, come find me. Listen to the words. Come find me. Garbage, a joke, clown acts, pisses me off.
I ain't a hard guy to find. I promise you that shit.
Listen to the words. Garbage, a joke, clown acts, pisses me off. What is up, ladies and gentlemen? Welcome into the Film Guy Network. I guess your humble host. I used to have these like standard intros for all of our shows. You know, we got Shut Up and Grind the Tape for our intro to our film studies. We got Welcome into MBR, the show where we bring you, topics that we're oddly passionate about and we pontificate upon them. These are not hot takes, rather takes we're passionate, all that good stuff, hot about, right? We all have intros, right? I don't have an intro for random YouTube videos. So welcome in. Hope you like it. Hope you subscribe. It's SEC Media Week. It was Georgia Day. Guys said some things. Welcome. We're here to react about guys saying some things at 2 o'clock on a Wednesday afternoon. Cole Wilcox was giving me some crap today on Twitter. Co-host of the Baxter Street Boys was giving me crap on Twitter saying, hey, what are you doing? 2 o'clock shows. What about the working man? What about the working man? Hey, Cole, what about me? I'm a working man. Jamie Goodman, the 9 to 5. Okay, look, it's in between 9 to 5 and your boy's working. So if you're watching me today and you're watching us live, I appreciate you for being here. If you have my loud butt on silent, or if you got me in an AirPod because you're at work and you don't want your boss to hear it, I appreciate you for watching us. And I'm glad you could be here with us. Like, subscribe, rate, review, all that good stuff, okay? Sorry, it's 2 o'clock in the afternoon, but there's takes to be given, and there's stuff to talk about, right? I mean, Kirby Smart talked in front of the meeting for probably 45, 50 minutes, almost an hour today, right? Because he did 35 minutes just up in front of the podium. Did about 15 minutes, was making some kind of news, and we're going to talk about some talking points even before he got to the podium. And then, finished up on SEC Nation where he talked about, some things even as big of topics as moving the Georgia-Florida game that we're going to talk about and hit on today. So appreciate you for being here. Appreciate you for making time out of your day for us. We've been loading up the content for you this week, whether you're just over here on YouTube, whether you're just here on Twitter, or whether you're checking us out via Patreon and all that good stuff. You've had a boatload of content this week, as is expected with SEC Media Week. So appreciate you for being here. Support us in all the ways that you naturally do. Like, subscribe, rate, review, do all that good stuff. Let's get into some show topics. We've talked enough about it. I told you, Kirby was kind of making waves even before he got to the podium today, right? Was saying some things that were tweet quote worthy, right? That were article quote worthy. So naturally people run with them, one of which was clearly a talking point for him today. Not that these guys are politicians, but they come in with bullet points. They know the things they want to hit on. 95 NIL deals was something that Kirby Smart clearly came today willing to and ready to talk about. He said it multiple times. He said it before he got to the podium. He said it when he got onto the podium. He mentioned it again when he was on SEC Nation afterwards, okay? It was very, very evident and obvious that Kirby Smart came today to let you know that 95 football players at the University of Georgia have NIL deals, okay? And I thought the other thing that was really fascinating was listening to Nick Saban yesterday, right? Nick Saban yesterday was very, very upfront and honest about like legitimate numbers. $3 million for his football team, right? $3 million for his football team. Earlier in the year, he said that his quarterback exceeded $1 million. So we're getting like tangible numbers from certain coaches. And I think that's very, very not just interesting, but important to notice, right? Important to notice not only that you're getting upfront and forward numbers, but you're getting full transparency and honesty. Listen, 85 scholarships, they got 95 NIL deals. He told you today, Dan Jackson, scholarship player, getting a lot of NIL money, right? Okay, after becoming a starter. All these things are great, but only very few coaches are being fully transparent. Some coaches are out here, defamatory, nonsense, garbage, clown acts. Can't even imagine people will report about NIL deals. None of our players are coming down to Texas A&M because of NIL deals. In fact, I got a quote right here for you, Jimbo Fisher, right? When all the Nick Saban stuff broke out, remember, 95 NIL deals, Georgia's head coach telling you this right now. Alabama's head coach, $3 million for the entire roster. They're being very, very forthcoming about this, while also saying, hey, there's some other guys out here running way too fast, driving way too fast, doing crazy stuff. We need regulation, calling for it, regulation left and right, at certain programs, while also being forthright and forthcoming. Meanwhile, you got Jimbo Fisher, after getting, people saying he bought every player in his class, coming out and saying, quote, I just researched this today, told the media this, quote, I just researched this. Of the 11 guys we have in place via early enroll, one guy has an NIL deal. So of all these stories you're hearing are all complete lies. All complete lies. I went and checked with our compliance people because we have nothing to do with it. Guys, the old adage, guilty dogs bark loud. We all know this. But it's just so interesting to me that it's like some guys full transparent. This is what we're doing. This is how much money we're making, all this. Other guys, nah, I mean, we only got one guy on NIL deals. Really? It's just weird, man. So like that was the main takeaway for me before even things got to the stage today for either of these guys, right? Particularly Kirby Smart. To hear that number, 95 guys, you probably only practice about 130, right? Maybe. I mean, he's probably got a bunch of walk-ons that just come out there and hold bags. You probably don't even practice with that many. You might have 110 guys on your roster and 95 of them to have NIL deals. That's a really, really good job. And it's also a marketable pitch, right? It is something that is transparent and upright and truthful that you can go out on the recruiting trail with. Where everyone's talking about NIL on the recruiting trail. But when the mics get in front of you, you want to say that you only got one guy in your entire class that's got a deal. We all know that's fugazi. We all know that's wrong. So who's the guy? That's the other thing I want to know, right? Who's the guy? But nonetheless, because you can dig up quotes on a lot of those, a lot of that signing class. A lot of that signing class, you can dig up quotes of those kids telling you they got NIL deals. But the head coach is out here on quotes saying, oh, I checked with the compliance department. Come on, man. Again, man, if there ain't here's my thing. If there ain't no shame in your game, don't piss on my boots and tell me it's rain. Okay? Don't do it. If you are out here doing what you're supposed to do, if everything is just above board, why you got to be out here doing the only one of our 11 guys? It's all lies. It came from sliced bread. Why we got to do that? If what you're doing is above board, if you are the king of NIL, if what you are is 100% above board, and you really do truly can stand by the fact that your statement, like everyone else's, is that Texas A&M is on par or better than everyone else when it comes to name, image, and likeness. Insert team here. They all say it. Shane Beamer said it yesterday. Vanderbilt coach Clark Lee said it. They all say it. So-and-so school is above everyone else when it comes to the ability to promote name, image, and likeness. If that is the case, if what you are doing is above board, tell me. Tell me like the two national championship winning coaches told me the last 2 days. They came out and gave you tangible numbers. Okay? All that other stuff, you're going to see guys ducking. You're going to see guys ducking. Now, let's actually talk about the real storylines from when Kirby took the stand today. First, we get some, kind of some inside behind the scenes type stuff, right? Some, I guess you could call random stories, right? I got some bullet points here for you guys. If you haven't noticed today's script is completely off the wall. It looks like you ever take notes in class where they're just like in shorthand because your professor's just rolling, just going way too fast. That's basically what my show notes look like today. And if you've ever soloed in this industry, show notes like this will either be the death of you, okay, for a show like this, or you'll have the best show of your life and you'll get done. You go like, man, maybe I should do that all the time. No, you probably shouldn't, because you can't just riff all the time. It's hard to do. Anyways, random notes here from the presser before he got in. His opening statement was filled with nothing but randomness. First of all, tweeted about this. Could you just imagine being out on your local, Lake Oconee, right? That's where all the Georgia coaches live. Their $1 million mansions are out there, right? All those coaches live out in Lake Oconee, and you probably got some grandparents or somebody's grandparent in Lake Oconee's regions are out there on the pickleball courts just getting absolutely obliterated by Kirby Smart and Mary Beth. I mean, two former collegiate athletes just bodying the middle-aged and senior citizens of Oconee County. Can you imagine? I mean, just out there and Kirby's just in your face. I wouldn't imagine he's like, but he's super competitive. All these dudes are, right? I mean, I go out to a intramural soccer league, right? And my wife doesn't want to let me play with her friends because I just try a little bit too hard and I'm bigger than everybody else. I'm not big, taller, but I'm fatter than everybody else, right? It's like this bowling ball running around giving away too much effort. Get this guy off the field. I would imagine some similar, stories and legends of Kirby Smart are out here being talked about on the pickleball courts of Oconee County. I would possibly imagine. The other thing we learned was Nahana. That's apparently where Stetson Bennett is actually from. He's not from Blackshear. He's from Nahunta or Nahunta. Nahana. It's spelled Nahunta. It's pronounced per Kirby Smart, South Georgia legend, Nahana. Now, I've never been to Nahana. I've been to Blackshear. I got family from Blackshear. I've never been to Nahana. Apparently, it is a city it's like the next city over, which in Southeast Georgia is like, I don't know, an hour, right? So Nahana is outside of Blackshear, and I Googled it today. It's got two roads, one north, one east, one north to south, one east to west. So South Georgia is perfect, right? And there's two things that pop up on the Google machine, right? In terms of like downtown Nahana. There's a Piggly Wiggly, because of course, right? And there's an Ace Hardware that says Ace Hardware, Farmers and Builders. If that ain't South Georgia, I don't know what is. Okay, so we learned that. It's not Blackshear, it's Nahana. And it's not Nahunta, like it's clearly written, Nahunt, okay? It's Nahana, which is rather interesting, I guess. South Georgia, okay? So we learned that about Stetson Bennett, okay? The other one is we learned Nolan Smith was a jokester. We learned that in the open before we get into the actual tangible stuff that we learned as you guys load in to watch us here on our SEC Media Day reactions. Nolan Smith, I got a story for you on this one. I went out to Kennesaw Mountain a couple of weeks ago. They had about a month and a half ago at this point. They had a camp with the champs type deal, right? Great thing about NIL, you allow football players to, while they're in college, come back to their local communities. Rylan Godey, tight end at Kennesaw Mountain, come back to local high school, put on a camp, charge kids $15, $20, whatever it is, get a t-shirt, sign some autographs, whatever. Make a couple bucks here and there, pay your bills the next month, right? Maybe you get to eat a little bit better. You don't have to, snack on ramen. You get to snack on Top Shelf. Nonetheless, great thing about NIL on the side, side hustle aspect of it. But I went out there, and Kirby Smart tells this story today about Nolan Smith giving him hair dye during Christmas because, he's fading, getting a little gray, all that good stuff. And it's all you ever hear about Nolan is just how lively he is, how much of joy and how boisterous he is in every environment he's ever at. And I'll tell you a quick anecdote of this exact, kind of thing with Nolan Smith. We're at this Godey camp, camp with the champs, whatever. Nolan shows up because he shows up at all of these. He's hosted multiple since NIL has been created down there in Savannah, Georgia. Was probably one of the first college football players I saw doing this because he wanted to get back to his community. And he's like they're going through the camp or whatever, and they stop to give the kids popsicles, and everybody's kind of chilling, and all the players that are running the camp or whatever are sitting there and they're hanging out and they're talking. And all of a sudden, I mean, you see it from a mile away. I'm standing there watching, staring down Godey and Nolan Smith standing there talking to each other, and two kids come through and they dump a bucket of the water on Godey's shoulders, like just to mess with him. He has to walk around the rest of the day cold and wet. It's just a prankster is the moral of the story. The rest of his life, he will always be joyful and pranksterous like he was today when he interrupted Stetson Bennett's, press conference asking him who his favorite outside linebacker was. Stetson Bennett on cue immediately said Bobby Beal because that's the type of dude Stetson Bennett is as well. Just a guy, right? A dude. It's that it factor, that dude factor. Nolan Smith flooded with the dude factor. So that's kind of all our random stuff. Okay, that's called all of our random stuff. Now, we actually have some stuff we can take away from Kirby Smart actually talking. Now, I wrote in a couple of articles today, Kirby Smart is like, I think, the apprentice of coach speak, right? The king is Nick Saban, the apprentice, which I will say this. I would honestly maybe anoint Kirby the king nowadays, because at this point, Saban's kind of relaxed with media relations. He's much more joyful, jokeful, right? Kirby's business, always business, always kind of trying to take whatever question you're asking or whatever the narrative is and steer it in the right direction, right? Like a professional, like Saban used to. Nowadays, Saban's kind of off the cuff a little bit more often. But I think, you always get some type of agenda from him. Not that he's not that he's a politician or anything like that, but you're going to learn what he wants his football team to believe of in and of themselves this year, right? Or whatever the coming year is. Last year, I mean, he opened with some historical quote for some American philosopher, right? This year, it's clear. I mean, they are everything's about hunger. Everything's about, like, we're hunting, right? We will not be hunted at the University of Georgia. Someone apparently asked him, what's it feel like to be hunted? I've never heard anyone ask him that question. He's probably like the Michael Jordan meme where he's like, I took that personally. Some of these, like, not competitive psychos is the wrong word, but some of these competitive nature people, they have like these ability to create mantras in their head or create doubts. This was one of them, right? Are y'all hungry still? I don't know of anyone that's actually asked him that question, how you deal with complacency. No one asked him that question publicly today, but he's ready to answer it, right? Because that's all he's ever talked about. That's his credo. That's what they keep talking about. We will not be hunted. That's clearly the message this year. Again, you're not going to get like pull, grab, quote stuff from Kirby Smart all that often. Okay. You're not going to get that from him all that often. Now, the thing I think is important to note, from a guy that's listened to a bunch of coaches talk, and you guys have as well, and at this point we're halfway through SEC media days. It's clear to me, I think it jumps off the screen, and much more even so in person. You believe some guys, you don't others, right? When I love the mindsets, great, but when Clark Lee tells you that the expectations at Vanderbilt are to compete and be the best program in the nation, you don't believe that, right? No one's saying that. Do you believe that, right? Not even if he meant it with his full soul, which I think he does, right? But when I listen to Kirby Smart, when I listen to Nick Saban, okay, you kind of have to believe and take, now they have proof of concept, particularly Kirby. You have proof of concept when he tells you that this team is hungry, right? He keeps talking about how none of this football team feels as if they have earned anything or feels as if they have won anything. When coaches do this, when they keep doing the coach speak stuff up, oh, we're hungrier than we've ever been. Summer workouts have been exceptional, right? No coach is going to stand up in front of the microphone and say, man, the energy's just been shit this offseason. We got no leaders, right? We got no leaders, right? No coach is going to stand up and say that. But when you have proof of concept now, right? When you have proof of concept that says, hey, last year when I came in front of you and said, we haven't had senior leadership like this in forever. And then you hear the stories about all the additional running that they were doing and all the additional self-accountability that they were doing that led to a standard, that led to a national title. Now you have proof of concept. Now you have to take them at their word for those types of things. You can't just believe the coach speak. Okay. Now, speaking of coach speak, I meant to set an alarm every 5 minutes today, and I was just going to read you some of my favorite coach speak lines today. One of my favorite. This one came from Kirby on the SEC Nation Network, right there on the set. He said, and I quote, so SEC, one of the, SEC means more. They ought to make this one the new slogan. Kirby Smart, coach speak right here. And I quote, humility is 1 week away in this conference. I mean, just perfect, right? Humility is 1 week away. We approach life like that. We approach the day-to-day habits like that. We got to work. We got to grind. We got to chop, right? All the good coach speak. I got a few more for you. Everyone knows Fast and Physical. He gave that one about the defense. That's clear as day. One of the other things I think is notable about some of the things that Kirby said today, and we're almost done, guys. Today we're going to be quick. I'm trying to keep it under 30. We don't normally do that here. He said on the SEC Network stage today that he kind of favored one of the expansion models more than the other in terms of the SEC realignment, right? You got Texas and Oklahoma coming in no later than 2024 or 2025. I would imagine they're here. 2024, right? Season, no later than 2024. But I would imagine they're here maybe a season earlier than that, right? That would be the earliest, maybe 2023. But nonetheless, I was digging up some quotes today about SEC alignment and was listening to what a realignment and was listening to what Kirby said today on the SEC network. And he mentioned that he favored a 3-6 model, right? And the 3-6 model here from an article from Pat 40 of SI.com is a 9-game format where you have 3 permanent opponents and 6 rotating opponents. That's the 3-6 model. That is what Kirby favors, right? You have the 3 consistent, I guess you would call them rivals. I think I've seen, Georgia's being South Carolina and Florida. Okay. And then you rotate the other 6 of the, or one more. I think Auburn might be mixed in there as well. You get the gist of it. You have 3 consistent rivals, and then you go on and play 6 rotating games in the SEC. And Kirby mentioned that just because it's important that you play Florida every year, it's just as important for the national brand of both programs for Texas to come to Athens and for Georgia to go to Austin, right, and do these things. It's important for the conference. It's important for both member schools. It's important for all member schools that there's some cross-pollination in here. And it's interesting to hear kind of him say that and him favor one over the other because according, again, to this report from Pat 40 over on SI.com, excuse me, and it says, I quote, SEC officials have spent months narrowing more than 30 scheduling models to these 2. An 8-game format where teams play 1 permanent opponent and 7 rotating opponents. I guess that's when you keep your 1 standard rivalry. Georgia would obviously assume Florida. And then you play a rotation of 7 schedules or 7 rotating games in the SEC. Or like we said, the 3-6 model, which is a 9-game format where teams play 3 permanent opponents and 6 rotating. Now, I would imagine that it's 8 conference games versus 9. I would imagine, just knowing Greg Sankey and knowing how profit margins work, I would imagine the league is going to favor the one that favors more conference opponents and more conference cross-pollination. So I thought that was intriguing to hear, your head coach favor one model over the other because there really is only 2. So that's him basically voicing his opinion and voicing his vote on something that he doesn't really get to vote on, I would imagine. That's most likely school presidents and the SEC commissioner in Greg Sankey. The other thing kind of in not necessarily conference realignment, but Georgia realignment, something that Kirby has beat like a dead horse since he's taken the job. And it's because ABC always be recruiting. You know this. I know this. We all know this. The whole recipe at Georgia is to recruit well, right? Everything is about recruiting. Everything he said today was either about promoting his players, promoting his program, or recruiting. Okay? That's it. That's the whole MO. Get great players here. So when it comes to something like the Georgia-Florida rivalry, right? The neutral site game, he's very, very obviously pro move it. Get me to a home and home, right? Get me to an opportunity where every other year I can host recruits for the biggest game on the schedule. And he makes a great point. It's the same point he's made since he's taken the job. Imagine if I was at Alabama and I told them, hey, that Iron Bowl is great, man. It's great that you guys get to do that every November. It's awesome that you get to host recruits. It's awesome that every top recruit in the country wants to go to that game most years because it's the best game during the Thanksgiving calendar. It's great that they get to do that, or that we get to do that. By the way, next year, we're moving it to Montgomery. It's going to be a neutral site game, and it's there forever. Forever. And until you complain, Kirby Smart, so much about neutral sites being inhibiting upon your recruiting, so much so that the NCAA actually allows you to host recruits on neutral site games, we're not giving you a break at all, which is, by the way, exactly what happened. Kirby has been complaining and rightfully so, complaining about this particular neutral site game that is stuck on his plate. Okay, not selective neutral site games, not playing Oregon in Atlanta, not playing Clemson in North Carolina, not doing these things, right? That's beside the point. Those are him volunteering to do that on the goodness of the sport for TV ratings and for brand awareness and all that good stuff. But when it comes to this game, he's been very, very clear about this. It's been impossible for me to recruit guys to my best football game every year. Last year, you know what their best home game was? You know what they stacked up? A noon start against Arkansas. Okay, now imagine that being a 7:30 kick or a 6:30 kick on CBS and Florida's in town. Because guess who else gets that? LSU and Alabama get that. Alabama and Auburn get that. Okay, everyone gets that except for Georgia and Florida. And the closing remark from Kirby on the SEC Network was just terrific, because what he said was, I'm glad everyone can come to this realization that it's unfair. I just wish I could get a coach on the other side to agree with me. He ain't, in his tenure, he ain't had a single Florida coach come out and say, yeah, we would love to host recruits during during that as a home game, right? Because why would Dan Mullen invite that into his crib, right? Why would Dan Mullen invite a game in which he's underdog by 17 points into his house? Why would he want to do that other than some home field advantage? He'd rather get his butt whipped in Jacksonville. Now, Napier is an SEC true-blooded recruiting matters guys, right? I mean, he increased the recruiting staff by tenfold down there at Florida for a reason. He is a recruiting matters guy. So perhaps after a year or so, maybe he comes to the realization that this stuff matters too. I need to get guys back on my campus when my biggest rival comes into town, even if they whip me and dog cuss us by 15, 20 for the first 2 or 3 years that I'm here. That's a kind of, speaking of Florida, by the way, I know it's Jordan. We got Georgia crap everywhere. Or not crap. We got Georgia stuff everywhere. Y'all get it. I cover the University of Georgia for you guys. We talk Georgia football, which means most of y'all that are watching this right now don't like Florida. I don't know how you watched that today and didn't come away liking Billy Napier or thinking that he's one of these guys that gets it, or he's one of these guys that can relate, or he's one of these guys that, more importantly, in my opinion, can translate. Take what you got in your head about your ideals of your program and give them to me in an ingestible way. There was one coach that spoke yesterday. I had a headache. He was throwing so many flash terms at me. I could not absorb what it is that his mission was for me to take away from him. You follow me? You are a leader of men at this position, which means when you go into a locker room, if people can't absorb what you are saying is falling upon deaf ears. So if someone, when you're watching it at home, it is as simple as, are they captivating? Because no matter what your knowledge of football is, if someone can hold your attention, you're going to learn, right? Now imagine that applied 100-fold in a room full of young football players, right? That kind of stuff matters. If you can't hold my attention, you can't hold my ability to make me better, right? Especially young men and women, right? So that's kind of the thing I took away from the interview or the press conference from Billy Napier today. And you know who else I felt about that last year in his first media press availability? Billy Napier, or not Billy Napier, Shane Beamer. I like everything that dude puts down. I think it's genuine. I think it's real, right? Those are the two words that he used in his press conference yesterday. He said when people come and they visit our program and they leave, they talk about two things, genuine and real. I feel that watching the dude on the television and just listening to him, right? Now imagine what that is when you're in front of him and right there with him. I don't think Georgia's got any problems anytime soon, but I do think there's competence in Tennessee. There's competence at South Carolina, and there's competence at Florida. And we know there's competence in Kentucky. So if you look up in 4 years, in 3 years, and the SEC East looks like the SEC West, and it has been for the last 6 years, 7 years, then don't be shocked, because there is, like I said, competency at a lot of these really, really, talent-rich positions or spots in the country, right? I mean, Florida's been an overhaul for programs like Alabama and Georgia and Clemson for the last 7-8 years. They intend for that no longer to be the case, which means if you're Georgia, if you're Clemson, if you're Alabama, you either need to be ready to buckle up and get in some battles and recruiting down there with Florida and Miami, or B, find somewhere else to recruit. Which I think you might see some adjustments. I really do. Told you we were going to try to keep it under 30 minutes. I'm going to toss some deuces here. We will see you guys on this platform Friday morning with Baxter Street Boys. Okay, so subscribe to the YouTube channel, put us on notifications, head over to the podcast platform. We're putting all this stuff out there as well. Appreciate you guys for being here. We will see you another time.